Hello and Sunny Bonani, welcome to take three of this third race in the top tier of the BrakeAway Racing League season. Hopefully it is for the last time here today. It's been quite something. I know a lot of drivers have load shedding to think about and other commitments to think about, so they will no longer be taking part in this race. We do have a slightly diminished driver lineup, as is, of course, a slightly diminished lap count as well. To my understanding, we will be racing 14 laps around this circuit of the Americas, and we will get a closer look at just how they will fare. Last time out, it was Simpiwe Zondi wasting no time, going all-out attack on Smirts Django in the run towards turns 11 and 12. Will he be as brave this time out? Time will tell. It's 4 lights, it's 5 lights, it's the only time South Africans look forward to lights going out. It is Smirts Django versus Don Rabico. At the start of this race, it looks like a clean start for the rest of the grid. Don Rabico tucks into the slipstream of the Ferrari. Oh, there's an Aston Martin going off the track. It's Seppo Temba, who is trying not to get overtaken by too many drivers. Instead, Seppo Temba seems to have gained an advantage as he comes back, but Duke says no. Oh, it's very close between the likes of Duke and the Nucho, and it looks like Seppo Temba gets a 3-second time penalty already before the end of the first sector. That is absolutely sensational stuff. And the Nucho is on the attack versus Duke over here in the midfield. Oh, Duke goes spinning down off the track, and he is down to P11. It's a nightmare day, a nightmare start in this restart of this third race. We go back to the front. Sikle on the exit of turn number 11 did not have the cleanest of entries into that particular corner, nor exits, it seems. And he's down by about a second and a half from the top 3 drivers at this point in time. On board we go with Seppo Temba, who's hunting down the McLaren. Seppo Temba, who's been struggling under braking this entire evening in all these sequences, in all these conditions of these races, gets completely snatched of that P5 spot by the Nucho, who came absolutely surging on the inside of the Aston Martin. And take that, would you? Seppo Temba now has to fight all the way back from P6, despite struggling under braking. Meanwhile, the 86er has gained 2 places since the start, despite being under pressure from the likes of Debo Crocodile, who himself is under duress from Mandla, aka Romeo. Into the final corner they go, and the AlphaTauri of Mandla is making sure to stay clinging on for dear life to those precious points, hunting down Debo Crocodile as they make the run towards turn number 1. Will stay in P9, will be AlphaTauri driver, and stage figure of speech, who is new to this race here today, is in that P10 spot, having gained 1 position. Loveness also looking to take advantage of the point on offer here today, is in P11, and Duke, of course, made that huge mistake earlier on down in P12, down at the back of the pack. A full complement, it seems, of medium tires, with the exception of Debo Crocodile and Loveness, who have gone quite aggressive to start this race. And as Sikle tries to keep the Nucho at bay, we go on board with Simpiwe Zondi, aka Simp. It's P3 for the Aston Martin driver, who was also aggressive the last time we tried to restart this here lobby. And now still within half a second of Don Rabico. Rides the curbs that does Simpiwe Zondi, trying to make sure that he does not fall too far behind his fellow competitors. Lap 2 of a total 14. Still quite a bit of racing to go here, folks. So do not touch that dial. Half a second separating each of the drivers in the top 3. However, Simpiwe Zondi is the quickest of the lot. Meanwhile, Nucho has been putting the 3-time champion Sikle under all of the pressure here today, and thought about it on the inside of turn number 1, but is opting to bide his time instead, and looking to take advantage of whatever DRS advantage he can grab as this lap keeps on rolling on along. Seppo Temba and the 86er make up the P7 and 8 spots respectively. There's a yellow flag which has been brought about. It seems, Mandla, Romeo had a huge moment, now down to P12 outside the points. It might have been a huge spin for Mandla. Now 3.5 seconds behind Duke, who himself is trying to recover from that earlier mistake. Debo Crocodile, the 86er, have been running hand in hand pretty much just since the beginning of proceedings here today, all the way back to about 8 p.m. Central African time. But now the gap between them is about 1.2 seconds, and we'll see how that goes, as Loveness is about 7/10 off the back of the Alfa Romeo, currently in the hands of Duke, who is occupying that 10th and final points position. Back up to the lead we go. Simpiwe Zondi, Don Ravico, Smirch Django in this abridged, shortened 14-lap showcase. What can we see from our top contenders? It was aggressive last time out, seeing Simpiwe Zondi, despite holding advantage as far as pace is concerned, happy to bide his time and happy to let Django and Don Ravico do most of the heavy lifting. Look at that yellow bar on the bottom of that steering wheel on this Aston Martin. You've got a lot of battery power stored up. That yellow bar is indicative of the amount of electrical energy remaining in the hands of Simpiwe Zondi. Into the S's they go. Don Rabico hunting down Smirch Django with 10 laps of racing still to go. We've got a heck of a race in prospect here, folks. If you've just joined us, welcome. It's a shortened version here as they come into turn number 11, followed very, very swiftly by the Nucho and Cicle. The three-time champion Cicle not want to give Nucho any encouragement, and will look to make light work of the Ferrari. But Nucho, being Nucho, is not going down without a fight, is not making life easy at all for Cicle. As I say that, he just gets out of the slipstream, trying to cool those tires down, which would be generating a fair amount of additional heat. Running so close behind the McLaren of Cicle, it is Nucho into the tight line through this sequence of corners. And Cicle happy to try and make that car as wide as he possibly can. Nucho's got about less than half of his battery power remaining, as you can see. That's a yellow bar on the bottom of the steering wheel. Nucho about less than half a second behind the McLaren of Cicle, three-time champion under all the pressure. And it looks like Cicle is not pushing hard enough to be catching up with the leading trio at this particular point in time. Very, very wide line, perhaps opening the door, baiting the Nucho to try and go for it. But the Nucho opts to stay within that slipstream. Debo Crocodile still in the hunt versus Galalatang, the 86er, the two teammates at Alpine, running in formation, if you will, as we get this beautiful sweeping overhead helicopter shot. Debo Crocodile half a second within touching distance. Has to watch his braking, as it seems is much more comfortable through this sequence of tighter corners in Sector 1. And the 86er is now going to have the run down towards turn 12, knowing that Debo may yet go for it and try to get that overtake done. Meanwhile, the Nucho finally overtakes Cicle in the run towards turn number 12, and the Mercedes of Cicle not looking as quick or comfortable as he was in the earlier parts of this evening. He's off the pace, is the three-time champion, the McLaren superstar, now down to P5 as the Nucho takes advantage after that long DRS stretch here at the Circuit of the Americas. Oh, Simpiwe Zondi getting a 3-second time penalty, unfortunately so, as he now begins the 6th lap of a total 14. Oh, Cicle came oh so close to making contact with the back of the Nucho there, but it seems that the Ferrari driver may yet be very, very comfortable. Stage figure of speech has just overtaken Debo Crocodile and is now sandwiched between the two Alpines, or is he? Or is that just a glitch as far as one of these Alfa Romeos are concerned? Oh, is that Mandla? Oh, again, off the track, into the gravel. Struggling is Mandla, and absolutely scorching these soft tires. And, those tires are absolutely fried. He's struggling to bring that car under control. You better be careful here, Mandla. He may yet get penalized, either if not for going the wrong way or track limits. Oh, no, that is Mandla totaling his car. And yeah, that is that as far as Mandla is concerned. So that seems to be an early retirement or possible DSQ here. Meanwhile, Don Rabico versus Django versus Simpiwe Zandi. It's the Mercedes driver now up to the lead of this race. And, well, I should have paid much closer attention to the race here at the sharp end. Simpiwe Zandi knows what he needs to do now that he's got that 3-second time penalty. He needs to somehow find his way at the front of this trio and just get himself out of trouble, as Mandla's retirement has brought out the virtual safety car here at the Circuit of the Americas. Racing was suspended. They have to go to at about 40% worth of the normal race pace. No overtaking allowed. Who will come into the pits? The answer is all three of the leading trio. Virtual safety car. They all started on the mediums. Mandla is out of the race, out of the session, out of contention for any points whatsoever. In a desperate situation for the AlphaTauri driver, will take no points. It's a set of softs for each of the leading trio. It's Don Rabico who will lead this race from Django, from Simpiwe Zandi. I actually take that back. It's not Don Rabico. It is going to be Sikle, who opted to stay out, rolling the dice here in the 7th lap of a total 14. Perhaps now we'll give it an almighty push as far as his pace is concerned. We saw what he could do in qualifying, and we saw, of course, how competitive he was in the earlier part of this race in the beginning stages of this evening. Sikle now in the 7th lap, halfway through this shortened showcase. The McLaren driver will look to build on what is currently a 3.5-second gap to the chasing trio led by Don Rabico. Behind him, of course, is Django being hunted down by Simpiwe Zandi. Side by side they go in the run towards turn number 12, the corner where Duke made so many enemies earlier on. Will Django get the switch back as they now navigate this corner? It's going to be very, very close, but Don Rabico is still keeping things tight, and it looks like he will not get caught by either of these two. Don Rabico now ahead of Simpiwe Zandi by a factor of about 1.8 seconds, and Django knows that he just needs to bide his time and pile the pressure on Simpiwe Zandi. So Django currently in P4 has used up about half of his battery power compared to Simpiwe Zandi, who, despite having just effected the overtake, has an advantage as far as that battery is concerned, and uses a little bit of it as he goes flat out through turn number 2 and eases off the ERS into the S section. Simpiwe Zandi looking quick, but those time penalties costing him dearly. Meanwhile, it looks like the Nuccio and Seppo Temba have resumed their on-track rivalry. It's McLaren versus Aston Martin on the battle for the podium places, as well as here in the midfield. Nuccio, Seppo Temba, both on a fresh set of soft tires, tussling for P5. But it's a daylight between themselves and the likes of Smirch Django. Meanwhile, Don Rabico finally getting the move done on Sikle on that long DRS stretch before turn 12. The Mercedes driver on those brand new softs is now back up to the lead of this race. Sikle now trying to keep Simpiwe Zandi at bay. Look at that switchback. It's a sensational overtake by the Aston Martin, and Sikle has to now contend with the onrushing Smirch Django. The two rivals are going to go wheel to wheel down these fast right-hand corners, but it looks like Sikle may yet have it. Django has the inside line. Will they bang wheels? They almost do, but Sikle says, all right, relents and finally comes back into the pits. So some much-needed drama here in the middle laps as Simpiwe Zandi is the fastest driver on track with a 35.186. What a sensational sequence of tussles that was between Sikle, Django, and Don Rabico earlier on. The three-time champion puts a brand spanking set of soft tires and will now look to hunt down the leading trio in this 9th lap, I beg your pardon, as Nuccio and Seppo Temba have managed to overtake the McLaren of Sikle, who opted to gamble on a different tire strategy. And behind Seaclay is the onrushing Debo Crocodile, distant cousin of Debo Alligator, on 3-lap old mediums. Their teammate 86er is under all the pressure from Sage Figure of Speech, and 86er also not having the best of times out here as far as track limit penalties are concerned, has already been penalized. Sage Figure of Speech biding their time behind the Alpine, knowing that he may yet find an opportunity to be sandwiched between Debo Crocodile and Gallo Tang, aka the 86er. 9 laps gone, Sage Figure of Speech on the hunt as they now come into turn number 11. Looks like a much more comfortable entry into that particular corner by Sage Figure of Speech, whose teammate is about 3.7 seconds behind. On board with Sage Figure of Speech, has used up so much of his battery power trying to keep up with the Alpines, and now dives on the inside. Will the 86er fight it back? They make a little bit of contact here on the exit of turn number 12, but it looks like the 86er will have the inside line through 13. Hopefully not enough contact to send any of them spinning. It's wheel-to-wheel stuff here, none of them giving an inch, but it's gonna be Sage Figure of Speech. Oh, racks up a time penalty of his own, and the 86er has to swerve that steering wheel so as to not damage that front wing too severely. But now both these cars have time penalties to contend with as they fight so aggressively. The 86er giving nothing away here as they now make their way towards the penultimate corner. The safety car has been called. Oh, 86er, what was that? Oh my word, drama as the safety car comes out. But the question is, for who? Don Ravico, wing intact, car intact, as is the case for Simpiwe Zondi. Smirts Django also looks to be looking in good nick in that Ferrari. The Nuccio and Smirts Django, the two Ferraris, are running pretty much in formation. And I'll tell you what, folks, with this safety car for a couple of laps, it is going to be advantage Seaclay, who has driven a flawless lap as far as time penalties are concerned. Duke, oh no, speeding under the safety car, that's going to be a drive-through penalty once the safety car comes back in. So Seaclay on a fresh set of soft tires is going to be box office, is going to be the one to watch very, very carefully here before all is said and done. Debo Crocodile, distant cousin of Debo Alligator, currently P7. Sage Figure of Speech is 8th from their teammate Duke in P9, and Duke is out. Duke has opted to retire their car, taking no further part in this race. Well, it's been a long night for a lot of these guys, and they're perhaps no longer keen to take any further part. So that is Duke out, meaning Loveness, who has just come out of the pits, is guaranteed a point here. Well, the leading trio opt to fit on a fresh set of softs, and I wonder if the Nuccio will follow suit. The answer is yes. Teppo Temba opts to keep track position, but he may have been too far behind for that to result in a net gain. Well, it is P4. What about Seaclay? Also opted to stay out. Those softs are just 2 laps old. We won't have too much racing to go here when all is said and done. Teppo Temba, time penalty. Simpiwe, time penalty. Sage Figure of Speech, also on a time penalty. 3 seconds for the quartet, including the 86er, Gallo Latang Kakawathi. Sage Figure of Speech, the Nuccio, running P7th and 8th, respectively. The 86er is 9th. Teppo Temba is 10th. There it is, folks, as we wait for the safety car to make its way back, and as we wait for the rest of the cars to bunch up behind one another. It is Don Rabico from Simpiwe Zondi from Smirch Django, each of the leading trio having just bolted on a set of brand new soft tires. That is going to be something to watch very, very closely. Teppo Temba opted to keep track position. 4-lap old softs will be under all the pressure at the restart. Seaclay, 2-lap old softs versus the brand spanking new, currently being run by the leading trio. You will feel that those tires are still in good nick at this particular point in time in this shortened race. Debo Crocodile, distant cousin of Debo Alligator, currently P6. No time penalties, so Debo Crocodile will be a huge beneficiary of the penalties been applied to Simpiwe Zondi and Seppo Temba, especially considering how short the rest of this race will be. We do hope that race control will give the word that the safety car is back at the end of this lap. Fingers crossed. Loveness P10 rounding us off. It's going to be one more lap behind the safety car. Well, Loveness into the pits. The question is, for a wing change? Because those tires are new. No, it's just for a tire switch. So Loveness also going ultra aggressive versus the 86er. Nucho Sage figure of speech as well, leaving nothing to chance. Loveness's teammate Ban Kobe was in action here earlier on tonight. Tato, aka Loveness, has already tasted a podium, so we know what they can do. It's also my understanding that Loveness has put in a lot of work on the simulator on this track in the lead up to tonight and this race. So he will be another one to watch very, very closely. Well, there it is, folks. The safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. Don Rabicos and P-Way Zondi. Smirch Django. Seppo Temba. Sikwe. Devo Crocodile. Sid's figure of speech. The Nucho. The 86er. Galalatang. And Tato, a.k.a. Loveness. Those are your 10 contenders. Who will hold their nerve? Who will have the upper hand come the end of these 2 laps of good, hard racing? Only Debo Crocodile has opted not to come into the pit. We'll hope for a miracle. He's going to have his work cut out. Will Bongani and Gwenya, a.k.a. Debo Crocodile, distant cousin of Debo Alligator, as we watch to see exactly when Don Rabico will send it. Just 2 laps of racing still to go in this glitch-affected night of racing. Don Rabico has absolutely sent it, and coming out of the final corner already has a 1.2 second advantage, leaving nothing to chance is Don Rabico now being hunted down by Simpiwe Zondi, as you can see. And there goes the Mercedes, and there goes Sinkley on the attack versus Seppo Temba on 4-lap old soft tires. He is on a mission as a 3-time champion, now hunting down his nemesis, his rival, his competitor, Smirch Django. The gap between them, a 1.5 seconds. Work to do for the McLaren driver as Django just breezes off into the distance, extending that gap now to 1.8 seconds as Seasley huffs and puffs down in P4, looking for a semblance of whatever he can get as far as getting into those podium places are concerned. Onto the Scarlet Red Ferrari of Smirch Django we go now. Simpiwe Zondi knows what he has to do. Overtake and try, hope, pray for some sort of a gap, but try as he might, Smirch Django is not going to make it easy. On board we go with the driver currently in P2. It's Simpiwe Zondi. It's Aston Martin versus Mercedes as at a slight lockup of that rear wheel. Meanwhile, the Nucho. Oh, it's a 3-way tussle between Nucho, Sid's figure of speech, and the 86er. Looks like the Nucho may have come off third best over there, and Sid's figure of speech has to contend with the 86er. They bang wheels. Here might be a double overtake by the Ferrari driver. Sensational stuff, but Sage Figure of Speech says no, you shall not pass, and Devo Crocodile now has to contend with the 86er, who is looking not to fall down all the way down to P9, and the two Alpines are now running in formation. It's absolutely sensational drama towards the end here. On board we go with the 86er, who has front row seats to what is a potential 5-car battle here, ostensibly for that P6 spot. Oh, the exit is not the cleanest, and here comes Loveness, who has practiced and is on the hunt here for a decent point haul, not only P10. On the outside of the 86er goes Loveness, but he has to, it was almost boxed in, and he had to completely go off the racing line. Oh, who's that Alpine making a hash of it? It looks like the 86er. Oh, contact with Loveness, but hopefully none of them spin. Loveness gets a 3-second time penalty, and it's pandemonium at the back in the scrap for the final point, and Loveness is really huffing and puffing here, but still managing to stay within touching distance. Sage Figure of Speech versus the Nuccio. What a sensational battle that was between the Nuccio and the two Alpines alongside Sage Figure of Speech. Nuccio hustled and fought so hard to get up to that P6 spot as things currently stand. Devo Crocodile, Loveness, 86er, fighting so hard, and Loveness does not get the cleanest of exits, almost bangs wheels there with the 86er. Meanwhile, at the front, the battle for the lead of this race. This is the final lap of this race. Do not forget, Simpiwe Zandi will hope, beyond all hope, that this 3-second time penalty does not deny him a podium, but that is, again, hoping against all hope, because it is going to be very, very tight as Don Rabico tries to make that car as wide as possible. Simpiwe Zandi trying to get the move done on track despite the looming pending time penalty. Here he comes now in towards the braking zone. Oh, he thought about it in towards the final corner, but try as he might, he could not defeat Don Rabico with a champion's drive, wins the race here in the Circuit of the Americas. Django comes home in P2. Simpiwe Zandi hangs on to P3. Sikle almost nicked a podium, but he did not, despite Simpiwe's time penalty. The Nuccio is in P5. People P6. Who was in P7? We're just going to have to check. It was a breathless finish to the race here, folks. And that was very, very memorable. The Nuccio has been voted the driver of the day by the game. And I'll tell you what, it has been beautifully, beautifully entertaining all the way since the beginning over here. Wow. Levitating is Don Rabico, and joined on the podium by none other than Simpiwe Zandi and Smirts Django. What a sensationally entertaining race that was. We do hope that we do not get so many glitch-affected races in future. But we are joined in the commentary box by none other than a driver who is also used to crossing the finish line first, being on the top step and levitating on that podium. It is Don Rabico. Congratulations. Take us through that. No, it was a frustrating evening, what with all the glitches, but still in a truncated 14-lap race. You came up trumps, and just take us through that and the way that Simpiwe Zandi kept you under pressure.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a mess with the code masters tonight. These guys, they don't know how to make proper connections. What can we do, man? We take what we can get. But no, coming into this race, I wasn't so confident, to be honest. I didn't feel I had the pace in USA, but I knew I was planning for it to be damage limitations. To be honest, because you know me and Django practice all the time together. I knew that Django had the pace for the win tonight, so I was expecting him for the win, and this is where we were heading for before the lobby got glitched and messed us all up. I think we had cleared the rest of the field, and we were just cruising, me and him. But unfortunately, these things it's out of our hands. But yeah, I'll take the win. It was, but I feel disappointed because I think it was more for Django this win. We deserved it. He's been training hard for this race.
And especially before the glitch was affected there. What a qualifying session, and what a race that was. Django still back on the podium, still well within the reckoning here. Please take us through, the initial, I suppose, the quali before we had to suspend everything and get glitches, and also how your race panned out and the fight with Simps.
Oh, good evening, Ty. Uh, yeah, I was looking forward to this race, man. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, quali was good. Should have been better, but we take it. Because there was a few mistakes that were. I actually thought I wouldn't get pole because I made a few mistakes in my middle sector, and luckily we managed to get pole, and we were managing the race perfectly fine, and it was all fun and games until we had Lichgate. So yeah, the restart for some reason Sims had immense pace on the second run. He was crazily fast. So luckily he got a penalty, time penalty in regards to what's this? Yeah, track invalidations. But and I knew I was just gonna stick behind him, manage the 3 seconds because unless him and Don were fighting, I wasn't gonna get close because he was super fast. And yeah, but anyway, yeah, it was pretty sad what happened because I practiced very hard,
Yeah.
and yeah, we had pace for the long runs, for the long session, and unfortunately it didn't happen. But we still take P2.
Still take P2. Don Rabico also back on the top step. It hasn't been the easiest of seasons. Django was looking strong today. You've been looking strong in other tracks. Seaflay is back with a bang. What are your expectations? You did mention in the previous interview that you weren't feeling too confident about this track. Looking at the upcoming races, how are you feeling for those?
Upcoming races, no, they're quite good. The upcoming races, nice tracks coming up. But yeah, we feel good. I mean, I like the tracks this season, except the odd ones out like Kota, and I can't remember what's the rest. But I'm sure most of them I like them actually. Let
Yeah,
me
yeah.
check the season racetrack. What do we have? We have Imola, Paul Ricard with the Barcelona, very strong. Melbourne, we're looking good. Jeddah, Jeddah is nice. Yeah, no, no. The, the rest of the tracks, we're good to go. We're good to go. We're good to
and
go.
and
Championship sealed.
and Django as well. You did put in a lot of mileage on the simulator. How are you feeling looking at the next couple of races and considering the momentum that you're on?
I think it's all gonna be a game of, who's strong on which track. Because today I felt like I could have won, and last week in Qatar, you saw that the two guys were very fast. But it's gonna be a game of who's strong on which track, and yeah, like Don said, we've been practicing all these tracks, and I mean, we're gonna take the fight to whoever who's challenging, and it's not gonna be a smooth sailing.
Not at all. But, gentlemen, once again, you have been at the heart of some very entertaining moments. Despite the shortened version of this race, yeah, it's something that we definitely did enjoy. Congratulations, Smirts Django. Congratulations, Don Rabico. And I just want to thank you once again for your patience with the glitches and making sure that you still put on some fantastic entertainment. We will see you next week, Thursday, for our next showcase in BrakeAway Racing League. And to everybody else who has been watching here, I know we've got very few compared to the first version of this race, but we do hope that you do enjoy the watching back this feature race. We will see you next week. Tier 2, remember, is Wednesdays at 8 p.m. and Tier 1, Thursdays, usually 7:30 or 8 p.m., depending on the turnout. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Good
Thanks,
night.
guys.